What's up, guys? Welcome back. First of all, this is not my usual setup. I'm not at home, so this is why the sound quality isn't that fantastic. But it's just between work. Just got a couple of free hours, and a couple of moments ago, I saw that the OCG Banlist for January 1st, 2019 has been revealed. I'll leave the link, etc., in the video description. So, like always, just check it out, right? This list is huge, and this list is probably what our list should have been like last week, right? Our list was definitely a very good beginning, a very good start, but it definitely needs more, and well, only Firewall, Banned, and a couple of other hits definitely wasn't enough, as we saw from YCS Milan past weekend. So as you see here, this list is quite huge. A lot of hits, a lot of cards banned, a lot of cards restricted, so let's get into it. As you know, the current OCG format is like Sky Strikers is pretty much the top deck, but it's quickly followed by, let's say, Gokis and Altergeist, for example. A couple of row decks, Dark Warrior, Link, Spam decks featuring Crystal, Needlefiber, and Pendulum Magicians as well. So let's take a look if, well, Konami actually hits the top cards. Right, and right from the bat, the first two cards here, as you see on the list, are both quite of an important card for the Plant Engine. Both Glow-a-Bulb and Dandelion are going to be banned in the OCG. Dandelion is definitely understandable, as we saw here from us TCG format, or from the TCG, right? Dandelion in Master Rule 4 is just flat out ridiculous. Let's not forget that the OCG has Cherubini, access to Cherubini, and it can instantly tutor your Dandelion. And the problem here, of course, with Dandelion is that, as we already have seen in other lists, and not solely in link-oriented spam decks, is that the Dandelion has been splashed in other decks as well, like for example Trickstar. So the ban on Dandelion was inevitable. Same for Glow-a-Bulb. Glow-a-Bulb, super strong card, very versatile card. Basically a one-card link summon, for example. Just use up your normal summon and can basically spam any link 2 or generic link 2 on your side of the field. So both Dandelion and Glow-a-Bulb are definitely understandable. The OCG hits 2 link monsters, as you see, and both of them are banned in the TCG as well. Finally, they hit a Nightmare Goblin, also in the OCG. Again, just a very generic normal summon, and as we saw from the OCG, like Dark Warrior, Link, spam decks, hitting Nightmare Goblin is definitely at least a step in the right direction. Same for Firewall Dragon, hashtag ban Firewall. As we saw from past weekend in YCS Milan, banning Firewall Dragon was definitely not enough to address multiple FTKs or multiple loops, but as mentioned before, it's definitely a solid start, or a good start in the right direction. So yeah, 2 link monsters are going to be banned in the OCG. This one is a very strange one, being well, Dark Matter Dragon. For Heretics, as you know, Tempest, one of the Dragon Rulers, was released in the OCG. I believe it was under their last ban list a couple of months ago, and as you know, Gandora FTK has been somewhat relevant, well, ups and downs in the OCG, also thanks to Tempest, and of course, Dark Matter Dragon, like Milling Eclipse, etc. So, but it still feels kind of strange. It's definitely a very powerful card, but I'm not really sure if this card was like the scapegoat needed to hit. So yeah, again, correct me if I'm missing something here. Another card is that, yeah, Steam the Cloak. It's like a card that before Link format, before Master Rule 4, wasn't that big of a problem, right? But as soon as we went into Master Rule 4 and Link format, and especially, well, that's the difference between the TCG, is Crystal Needlefiber. Like, Steam the Cloak has been one of those easy targets to get on the field with Needlefiber, and Steam the Cloak just screams to be abused, right? And thanks to Fiber, it's just an instant target, one of the core cards in like the Link spam decks in the OCG currently. So it's not really surprising that they are hitting Steam the Cloak as well to hit the Link spam decks in some way. The 2 other cards here, one of them, same for the TCG, and X-Saber Invoker, right? Instantly one of the best cards, one of the best tutor cards, let's say, in Goki or Dark Warrior Turbo decks. So finally the OCG addresses Invoker as well, but the other card, and this card should have been on our list as well, very interesting or very solid card in Gumlar or Warrior or Dark Warrior oriented decks, basically like a 3+1. and makes your Dumblar live basically any moment, right? As soon as you have 2 warriors in your graveyard. Phoenix Blade is also one of those cards that definitely should be banned. That has been a problem in the past in Magical Explosion decks years ago, and it will just be a matter of time that this card will, well, eventually be abused again. So, but again, I think this might happen in the TCG as well. Phoenix Blade hitting the, well, Phoenix Blade getting the X right. Some Altergeist hits, as you see here, the first one. It's Multifaker, right, if I'm not mistaken, and well, I guess the deck needs to be weakened down. As you know, I think Altergeist should be like the number 2 deck currently in the OCG, and Sky Striker also gets a hit, as you see here, so you can't really like hit only the best deck and leave the other decks untouched. So as you saw, at least as I already have mentioned, is that Gagari, is it Gagari? I think it's Gagari the name. The Firelink monster from Sky Strikers is going to get it the OCG and probably in the TCG as well. Again, not really sure, but it's just like back in the old school days with those very important extra deck summons, like for example Shaddolls. Let's say they only have access to 1 construct. I mean, you have to keep track of your extra deck and make sure that that one-off extra deck monster well gets maximum value, right? And okay, the OCG does have access to Pot of Avarice, but still only 1 Firelink for Sky Strikers is definitely a huge hit. And finally here, well, Crystal Needlefiber, we don't have it yet in the TCG, but as we saw from past breakdowns from the OCG, most lists I saw were only running 1 Crystal Needlefiber, unless of course it's like a high spam link turbo deck, right? So putting Crystal Needlefiber to 1 is definitely okay, but it's also one of those cards that, well, eventually, well, it will just get banned, right? The card is just so damn powerful. Hitting Pendulum Magicians, I think this is the only Pendulum Magician hit. It's going up and down in the OCG. As you know, Electromite should be at 1, I guess. Astrograph Sorcerer as well. They still have Joker, Performapel Joker. So the deck definitely has a lot of options still in the OCG. And hitting Chronograph Sorcerer, I guess it's fine, but it's just, well, hitting the engine, I guess a rank 6 engine as well, and some extra special summons to the field to facilitate your Electromite summon. So I guess it's fine, just to weaken Pendulum Magicians a bit again. The last card here putting... the next one here is quite interesting. I mean, sure, it, if I'm not mistaken, should be a 3 in the OCG. I mean, I think the only hit that Necros currently has in the OCG is, I think, Necros Cycle? Do you know the ritual spell that reborns from the graveyard? Although I'm not sure about that. So them getting back Brionek, Necros of Brionek back to 3 again, very, very solid. And Unicorn. Yeah, I think Unicorn should be at 1 as well, or maybe at 2. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, probably at 1, since the card is so bonkers, right? Against most, pretty much, yeah, most current top tier decks, and I'm talking about Unicorn, that is. So them getting back Necros of Brionek back to 3, very solid card against Thunder Dragons, which isn't really hit on this list. And as you know from past OCG metagame breakdowns, is that Thunder Dragons, well, it's not really doing anything in the OCG. Well, as you know, yeah, Gold Sark has been put to 1 in the OCG, and I think ever since we saw a decline in Thunder Dragons. Maybe a couple of Dinosaur Thunder Dragon hybrids, but outside of that, Thunder Dragons isn't really doing anything. So Necros getting back Necros or Brionek, okay, super solid, gives them an extra searcher and potentially bouncer for those extra deck monsters on your opponent's side of the field. But in terms of power, I think it's not really enough, right? Them getting back their full engine, even though sure, it is at 2. The last 2 cards here on the list going back to 3 in the OCG, both a True King's Return and Ring of Destruction. As you know, the errata of, at least the errata on Ring of Destruction, not that important, them bringing back a ring at 3. It's, well, with the errata, a ring is just quite terrible. Same as other cards getting the errata, like, let's say, Brain Control. A perfect card now at 3, since, yeah, the errata just makes a card quite terrible. The last card, True King's Return, I mean, Masterpiece is still banned. True King's Return, one of the best cards, right? Reborn, I don't need to explain this card, but yeah, True King's Return back to 3, very interesting, but I don't think this would impact, yeah, True Dracos in the OCG format. So all in all, super solid list, especially for the OCG. The OCG definitely has the balls to hit a lot of cards like Fireball Dragon and you know, the TCG as well, but other cards as in Steam the Cloak, probably because of Needlefiber as well. Needlefiber is still at 1, but it's also a card that will be banned pretty sure in the near future. Phoenix